Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into Key Time Sports. It's Key Time coming back to talk about the college football game between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Indiana Hoosiers. Now, this game was up and down. Indiana, I'm gonna just go ahead and say this. Indiana, they benefited from a easy schedule. They were 10-0 coming into this game, and everybody was saying, Kurt Cinetti saying that we belong on this stage. But the way that the game unfolded, they did not. When you have Curtis Ruitt going for eight of 18, 68 yards, 3.8 yards per pass, and only having a 42.6 QBR, you're not worth it for a game like this. And then as far as the running game for the Hoosiers, it was non-existent because they only had 85 yards rushing. And as far as their receiving, I'm not even going to get into their receiving. The highest receiver on the Indiana Hoosiers was Elijah Sharrett, and he had 40 yards on 3 catches. The Indiana Hoosiers, I knew that they were just an average football team. And Indiana Hoosiers, they are a great basketball team, and that's what they are going to be, a great basketball school, because when you play up against a big dog like Ohio State, a team that has been up there for years and years and years, when you try and go into Ohio State, and let me tell you, Indiana had a chance to take control of this game early. Will Howard, he was off. He threw an interception early in the first quarter. And then with the Indiana Hoosiers already being up 7, they could have possibly took it to 10 nothing or even 14 nothing. But they missed their chance. They had penalties galore all over the field. And when it came to third down, they really wasn't good. If Indiana Hoosiers was 6 of 14 on third down, when you go 6 of 14 on third down, I don't care what type of league you are in, whether it's NBA, NFL, college, HNL, or whatever sports league it is. When you go 6 of 14, you're not gonna lose. You are not going to win. Now, if Indiana was 9 of 14, 12 of 14, maybe. But but when it came to the Ohio State Buckeyes, in the second quarter, they found momentum and they did not relinquish it. They scored 2 touchdowns in the second quarter, 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, and they scored 10 points in the fourth quarter. So, what does this game say about the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Indiana Hoosiers? Well, America, one thing I can tell you, Indiana Hoosiers, they was all build up. They was all hype. And I told y'all, their first 10 opponents, with the exception of Michigan, Indiana won. Indiana won by 5 points versus Michigan. Every other opponent they won by at least 2 touchdowns. Now, when you get down in a game where it's not looking good and your offense has to wheel you back into a competitive fight and wheel you to a victory, you wasn't able to do it. Indiana, you are going to drop out of the college football playoff. I guarantee it. Indiana maybe is going to drop to, they'll be probably the first team out. They'll be right around 13 or 14. And Ohio State, they not going to drop anywhere. They are just going to stay at number 2. The next game I'm going to cover is the Kansas Jayhawks versus the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, the Colorado Buffaloes, they are a team that has been up and down all season. Yes, really up and down all season. I'm going to say this. Colorado, they missed their chance. They really did. Shedeur Sanders, he had a good game, 23 of 29, 266 yards, 9.2 passing yards on average per pass on average, and three touchdowns and 0 interceptions. But I am going to look at where did the Buffaloes lose this game? They lost it on third down and they lost it on penalties. Now, there was some turnovers that happened for the Colorado Buffaloes in this game, but it was by their running backs. It was by their wide receivers. When I looked at the entirety of this game, I'm saying to myself, now look, I want Colorado to make it all the way. I really want them to go to the national championship game because I would really love to see the Colorado Buffaloes, Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, and the whole Sanders family win this championship for the Colorado Buffaloes and Colorado University. But as of right now, they are stuck in the mud at 8-3, and the best they can do now is win next week and let everything else take care of itself. Now, I'm going to give y'all some stats on the Kansas Jayhawks side of things. When it comes to Jalen Daniels, 14 of 21, 189 yards, 9 yards per pass, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. One thing about the Colorado offense, they left too many points out there on the field. The Kansas Jayhawks had 5 possessions in the first half, 5 possessions, and scored 2 touchdowns. And on those other 3 possessions, you had a punt, turnover, missed field goal. If a team in the first 30 minutes of a game goes 2 for 5 in scoring range, if I'm the Colorado Buffaloes, we've got to win that game. But like I said, everything was lackluster on Colorado's side of the field. The defense was lackluster. The offense was lackluster. Travis Hunter, he had a good game and tried to wheel his team back into a competitive game, but it was just simply too much. Now, when it comes to the Colorado Buffaloes were atrocious. They were 3 of 7 on third down. The Kansas Jayhawks was 9 of 14 on third down. On fourth down, Colorado was 0 of 2. The Kansas Jayhawks was 2 of 2. So, everybody, I know there's a bunch of haters out there that want Deion to just suffer and lose badly. But one thing I have got to say, you have got to give credit where credit is earned. And Deion Sanders has earned the credit. From where the Colorado Buffaloes were when he first arrived, just winning 1 game, to now potentially going 9-3 at the end of this season, it is astronomically amazing what Deion Sanders has done with the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, can the Colorado Buffaloes do this on a year in, year out basis? That remains to be seen. But one thing is the Colorado Buffaloes are going to a bowl game, and I predicted at the start of the season that they would go to a bowl game. I said that they might not make the college football playoff, but you can book it that they are going to a bowl game, and they are going to a bowl game. We just don't know what bowl game it is. I'm hearing speculations that it may be the Outback Bowl. I don't know where that's being broadcast this year, but when I find that out, I will give everybody in the chat and in the audience the information. The next game I want to cover is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Army Black Knights. Now, one thing about this game was just basically terrible. It really was, because y'all already know how I like to say my phrase. The bottom fell out the damn barrel for the Army Black Knights. Now, the Army Black Knights, they are coming into this game, they was 9-0. Best start in 35 years. The last time the Army Black Knights had a good season, 25 years. The last time the Army Black Knights had a season like this, we were still in the old century. We were still in that century. We were still in the 20th century. 1999 was the season where the Army Black Knights started off 10-0. They could have started off 10-0 Saturday night, but the Notre Dame Fighting Irish came in their way. And I mean, they came out in groves. They really did, because I was watching the entirety of this game and I was saying, okay, can Army keep pace with Notre Dame? And we found out in the first quarter that Army just didn't want to play. They just didn't want to play, because I'm gonna show y'all. These stats are just downright horrifically awful. They really are. When you have your starting quarterback, if you are the Army Black Knights, if you have your starting quarterback, and this is to Army Black Knight fans too, your starting quarterback was 4 of 8 for 26 yards and a QBR of 31.9. That is downright awful. The highest a QBR can get is 153.8. That's perfect QBR. This right here, this is just on the scale of an A to an F. This is a downright triple F right here, because this game, it wasn't even a game. First quarter, Notre Dame gets out to a 14-0 lead in the span of just 7 minutes. Then in the second quarter, I thought it was going to get a little bit more competitive, but it didn't. And Notre Dame, they went up another 2 scores. So now it's 28-7. 28-7 at halftime. And I'm saying, can the Army Black Knights, can they shorten the game up? And I said that they would have to score big plays in the third and fourth quarter. And they did not do that. And then not to make it, when I knew the game was over, was the second half opening kickoff. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish returned the kickoff for a touchdown. Now we looking at 35-7, and I basically called the game like that. And I said in my short, I said that Notre Dame Fighting Irish is making a statement, because they trying to get to the college football playoff too. If I'm not mistaken, Notre Dame, if the college football playoff start today, Notre Dame would be 4, maybe 5. And with the AP poll rankings coming out yesterday, they probably have just increased their chances at making the CFP playoff. So now, Army Black Knights, we knew that this was just going to be a one-off for y'all. Y'all will have a chance to play in a bowl game. Y'all already have that. But as far as making it to the college football playoff, that's out the window after this horrible performance right here. This is the type of performance that you see when you think about a performance like this. You automatically think of dumpster juice, downright god awful trash. They were just simply the defense. Notre Dame's offense went through the Army Black Knights defense like a hot knife through butter. I mean, it was just no stopping the Notre Dame Fighting Irish offense at all. It really wasn't. And what do you see right here? You see a team, credit the Army for cracking over 200 yards of rushing offense, but they had those yards when the game was firmly in hand. So credit to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for getting your 10th win of the season, and you still have a chance at making the college football playoff. And as far as the Army Black Knights, you had a good season, but you fell short at making the college football. Now, the next game I want to cover is the Florida Gators and the Ole Miss Rebels. It is great to be a Florida Gator. It is great to be a Florida Gator. Now, I am a huge Florida Gators fan, so I am happy. I didn't even think that I would be able to report on the Gators this season at all. Obviously, they had the debacle versus Miami, and it just seemed like everything Miami, I was saying to everybody, and everybody was asking me, Key Time Sports, Key City Sports, do you think Billy Napier is the guy? I said that I have got to see at the end of the season, is he going to be the guy? Because if he doesn't win, I said that you got to ship him out of here. And like I said, over the last couple of weeks, the Florida Gators they have turned their season around. And really, from what I'm hearing, and this is what I got from my sources. Y'all can go read it on ESPN, Bleacher Report, or anywhere you. The reason why Billy Napier is coming back is because the fight that the Gators showed with the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, credit. I'm gonna talk about the Ole Miss game in a minute, but credit Billy Napier against the Georgia Bulldogs. Florida had a chance at winning that game. Now, Georgia fans, y'all gonna come in the chat and say that, oh, Key Time Sports, you don't know what you're talking about. But Florida, they had a chance at winning. If it wasn't for those two turnovers late in the game, Florida probably wins that game. And then you have the Gators playing the Tennessee Volunteers close. They could have won that game. And then the last 2 weeks, you have them beating Ole Miss, not Ole Miss, but you have them beating LSU last week and Ole Miss this week. The Florida Gators, I'm going to say they pretty much threw a monkey wrench in college football this weekend. They really did, because when you see DJ Lagway, he didn't do nothing spectacular, but he didn't cost the team a game, because when you look at it, 10 of 17, 180 yards, 10 and a half yards per pass, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a QBR of 66.5. That's average to his standards. Now, credit the games that DJ Lagway starts and finishes, he's 4-0 ever since he became the starting quarterback for the Florida Gators. Now, the Florida Gators, they are a team. Everybody projected them to have a bad season this year. I even said so myself. I said, from a Florida Gators fan to my fellow Florida Gators fans, I said to myself, we do good if we can get 4 games this year. And we won 6 games. Now we got to go up to Tallahassee and play that team up north that we hate so much in the Florida State Seminoles. And we have got to beat the Florida State Seminoles this coming Saturday. And I believe that we are going to beat the Florida State Seminoles. Now, on to Ole Miss. Jackson Dart, 24 of 41, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now, Ole Miss, I said this earlier in the season. When they lost to Kentucky, I said that they would have to win out in order to make it to the college football playoff. Now, everybody coming into this game versus Florida, everybody was projecting Ole Miss to beat Florida by 10 points or more. But when I looked at this game in its entirety. First quarter, it was scoreless. Then second quarter, both teams traded touchdowns. And then all of a sudden, the defense for the Florida Gators came up and stepped up to the plate and rose to the occasion. Now, when you see now third were not good on third down at all, that is where the aforementioned Florida Gators defense come in. They were 3 of 14 on third down, Ole Miss was. The Gators were 7 of 15 on third down. Fourth down, that's where that's where Ole Miss has their bread and butter plays. They were 2 of 4 on third down. And one thing about the Florida Gators defense, now this is where I know that not a lot of people focused on the game at, but Ole Miss had 3 fourth down and 1 plays. The first one, the Florida Gators stopped them in their tracks. The second one, again, the Florida Gators stopped them in their tracks. And even the third one in the fourth quarter, the Florida Gators stopped them in their tracks. So one thing I can say about Billy Napier, I didn't know if he would survive past this season, but I believe in the vision that Billy Napier is building down there in the swamp. I believe that the Florida Gators, they can make some noise come going into next season. Now, obviously, they have 2 more games that they have to win one versus Florida State this coming Saturday, and the next one in the bowl game. But Billy Napier, he is starting to turn the tide from, from the last from the first 2.5, and even early this season where the team wasn't as confident. Now these players are confident. They believe that they can go toe to toe with anybody. I mean, when you look at it, LSU, when Florida played LSU, they was in the top 25, and Florida, for the first time in about 7 years, they have beaten a top 10 team in the Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss was ranked 9. So this is a cultural building win for the Florida Gators, and I am so happy right now because this win brought the Florida Gators back to relevancy. It really did, and I'm a happy Gators fan right now. So the last game I'm going to cover before I give has to be, oh my goodness, it has to be the Oklahoma Sooners and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Well, Alabama fans, Alabama alumni, Alabama team and coaches, your season is definitely over. But guess what? I'm not sad about it, because you know why? This is a relief loss, because me, as an Alabama spectator, I don't have to sit back and stress and wonder about if the offense can score touchdowns consistently throughout a game. And I don't have to sit back and stress about what the defense can do game to game. Now, Oklahoma, I didn't expect this from Oklahoma. I mean, Jackson Arnold, he only threw 11 passes, and this game was basically bad on both ends. It really was. I mean, Jalen Milroe, 11 of 26, 164 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 damn interceptions, and that's what really blew the game for Alabama. When Jalen Milroe threw the second interception, I was like, it's gonna be one of them games. And then you have Jam Miller, who really didn't do much, if nothing at all. He had 45 yards the entirety of the game. Then wide receivers didn't have nothing to do, didn't make an impact in the game. Now all of a sudden you got the Oklahoma Sooners, the worst offense in college football. All of a sudden thinking that they have a top-notch offense, they balled out versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama, you're gonna have to come back. You're gonna have to come back and get ready. Go to the drawing board and start on your recruiting for next season, because this is not going to cut it at Alabama. You cannot have consistent lackluster performances and think that you are going to stay at Alabama. It's just not going to happen. So I'm gonna tell a few coaches this. Kalen DeBoer, you had a good season, 8-3 possibility. You can go 9-3 with the win over Auburn this coming week. Kane Womack, you have got to call a better defensive scheme game after game. And also, Nick Sheridan, the Alabama offensive coordinator, you have got to expand the playbook going into next season. You have to, because it has been a while since Alabama has lost 3 games. It really has. The last time Alabama lost 3 games, I was 9 years old. I'm about to be 24 in just a matter of 2 months. So it has been a long time since I've seen Alabama in this kind of light, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good because Alabama, they looking like an average team, and it's like we can't even. It's like as us as Alabama fans and us as college football fans, we can't sit back and brag about Alabama like we used to. Remember 4 and 5 years ago when Alabama would win every game by at least 20 to 25 points? We can't sit back and brag about them. We can't sit back and brag like that anymore. We have got to give this guy Kalen DeBoer another year or 2 to get his system of players in there. And then let's come back at the end of 2027 and let's see what Kalen DeBoer has done between now and up until 2027. Now, this game, Alabama, you are eligible for a bowl game, and this game, and it's like I don't like the fact that Alabama won't be attending the playoff, because for many years that has been called the Alabama Invitational. But this year they didn't qualify for the college football playoff. I don't like the fact that offensively, there are games where their offense has just sputtered consistently. And I don't like the fact that the defense sometimes is not confident in what they do. So, where does Alabama go from here? Like I said, recruiting. Oklahoma, it's been a rough year for you too. You 6-5. As far as offensively, you average 18 points per game. So this is really a good win for you, but you really didn't have nothing to play for. And Brett Bielema, and no, excuse me, not Brett Bielema, Brett Venables, he's got to have a better team coming into next season, a more experienced team, and a team that is going to improve from this cycle of recruiting until next football season. And with that, those are my reactions to week 13 of the 2024 college football season. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Key Time Sports, and also follow Key City Sports on TikTok. And one last thing, the key is always on time.